Time doesn't flow, it doesn't pass, it doesn't move from past to future, like a river carrying us along. Everything you think you know about time, everything Newton believed, everything Einstein refined, everything your common sense tells you is wrong. Time is not what it seems. It's not even close. Time is a geometric structure, a shape. And once you see it that way, once you truly understand what that means, the entire universe looks different. My name is Roger Penrose, and I've spent 70 years thinking about the nature of reality. I've worked on black holes, on the origins of the universe, on the foundations of quantum mechanics and consciousness. But the question that haunts me most, the one that rewrites everything else, is this: what is time? Not how do we measure it, not what clocks do, but what is it fundamentally at the deepest level of physical reality? The answer is not what you expect, and it begins with realizing that the flow of time, that sensation you have right now, that feeling of moving from one moment to the next, is an illusion, a beautiful, compelling, utterly convincing illusion, but an illusion nonetheless. Let me start with what seems obvious. You remember the past. You don't remember the future. The past feels fixed, determined, unchangeable. The future feels open, uncertain, full of possibilities. And the present, this moment, right now, feels special. It feels like the knife edge between what was and what will be. This is the psychological arrow of time, and it's built into every fiber of your being. You cannot help but experience time as flowing forward. But physics doesn't care about your experience. Physics describes the universe in terms of mathematical equations. And those equations, Einstein's equations, Maxwell's equations, Schrodinger's equation, all the fundamental laws we know are time-symmetric. They work just as well running backward as forward. If you filmed the solar system and played the film in reverse, every equation would still hold. The planets would orbit backward, but the mathematics wouldn't change. There's no arrow in the fundamental laws. So where does the arrow come from? Why does time feel like it flows? The standard answer is entropy. The second law of thermodynamics says that entropy, disorder, randomness, always increases. A broken egg doesn't spontaneously reassemble. Heat flows from hot to cold, never the reverse. The universe moves from order to disorder, and that gives us our sense of time's direction. The arrow of time is entropic. But here's the problem. Entropy is not fundamental, and it's statistical. It's a measure of our ignorance. When you say a gas has high entropy, you're saying you don't know the precise positions and velocities of all its molecules, but those molecules are still following time-symmetric laws. Each collision, each interaction could in principle be reversed. The entropy increase is not a law of nature. It's a consequence of initial conditions. The universe started in a very low entropy state at the Big Bang, and it's been running downhill ever since. So the arrow of time is an accident, a feature of the particular history our universe happens to have. But that doesn't explain what time is. It just pushes the question back. Why did the universe start in a low entropy state? And more fundamentally, why does time exist at all? This is where my work on Twistor theory comes in. Twistors are mathematical objects I developed in the 1960s as a way to reformulate space-time geometry. Instead of starting with space and time as fundamental, twist theory starts with light rays, null geodesics, the paths that massless particles follow, and from those light rays, space-time emerges. This is a radical idea. Most physicists take space, I'm is given. They assume that space and time form a four-dimensional continuum, that events occur at points in space-time, and that physics is about describing what happens at those points. But Twistor theory says no, space-time is not fundamental. It's a derived concept. What's fundamental is the geometry of light rays, and space-time is what you get when you organize those rays in a particular way. Why does this matter? Because if space-time is emergent, if it's not fundamental, then neither is time. Time is not a flowing substance. It's not a container in which events happen. It's a dimension of a geometric structure that emerges from something deeper. And that structure, space-time, is not a stage on which the universe performs. It is the universe, or rather, It's one way of describing the universe, and there are others. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you're looking at a cube. From one angle, it looks like a square. From another angle, it looks like a hexagon. But the cube itself doesn't change. What changes is your perspective. Space-time is like that. It's a perspective on a deeper geometric reality. And time is one dimension of that perspective. But it's not privileged. It's not special. It's just one way of slicing the structure. Now, this might sound abstract, even mystical, but it has concrete consequences. One of them is that the distinction between past, present, and future is not built into the structure of reality. Einstein understood this. He famously wrote to the family of his friend, Michel Besso, after Besso died. For us physicists, the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. He meant it. In the four-dimensional space-time of general relativity, all events, past, present, future, exist equally. The universe is a block. Time doesn't flow through it. We flow through time, or rather, we perceive a flow as we experience different slices of the block. This is called the block universe, and it's deeply disturbing to most people because if the future already exists, if it's already out there in space-time, then what happens to free will? What happens to choice? If everything is already determined, already laid out in the four-dimensional structure, then we're not agents. We're just passengers riding along tracks that were fixed from the beginning. But here's where Twistor theory offers something different. Because space-time is emergent, because it's not fundamental, the block universe picture might not be the final word. There might be something deeper, a level of description where the future is not yet determined, where the structure of reality is still forming, and that something might be related to quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics introduces genuine randomness into physics. When a quantum system is in a superposition, when an electron is in multiple states at once, it doesn't have a definite future until a measurement is made. The future is open, it's not determined, and the measurement itself, the moment the super P position collapses, is a moment when reality becomes definite, when the future crystallizes. I've spent decades thinking about this collapse process. The standard view is that collapse is caused by observation, by measurement, by interaction with a large classical system. But I've never been satisfied with that. It makes consciousness too central, too mysterious, and it doesn't explain why large systems behave classically in the first place. So I proposed a different mechanism, objective reduction. The idea is that quantum superpositions collapse not because of observation, but because of gravity. Space-time itself is a quantum system. And when a particle is in a superposition, it's in multiple places at once, which means it's warping space-time in incompatible ways. Those incompatible curvatures create an instability, and when the difference becomes too large, when the gravitational self-energy exceeds a certain threshold, the super-P-position becomes unstable and collapses to a single state. This is a gravitational phenomenon, not a psychological one. It's objective. It happens whether anyone is watching or not. And crucially, it's time asymmetric. The collapse is a real physical process that picks out a direction in time. It's not statistical, not entropic, not a matter of human ignorance. It's a genuine feature of nature, and it creates the arrow of time at the quantum level. So here's the picture that emerges at the fundamental level below space-time, below even the distinction between past and future. There's a quantum geometric structure, twistors, or something like them. From that structure, space-time emerges, and as space-time forms, as quantum states collapse a direction in time, emerges the arrow. But the arrow is not fundamental. It's a feature of the way reality crystallizes from the quantum foam. Now, let me connect this to something else. Penrose tiling. You may have seen these patterns, beautiful intricate arrangements of tiles that never repeat. They're non-periodic. If you pick any finite region and look for another region exactly like it, you won't find one. The pattern is aperiodic, but it's not random. It has structure, it has rules, and most remarkably, it has a kind of long-range order. Distant parts of the pattern are correlated in subtle ways. I discovered these tilings in the 1970s while thinking about crystal allography. Crystals are periodic. They repeat. But I showed that you could have structures with long-range order that never repeat. And these structures can be generated by simple local rules. You don't need a global plan. You just need tiles that fit together in certain ways. And the pattern emerges. What does this have to do with time? Everything. Because time might be like a Penrose tiling. It might have structure, causal relationship, sequences of events, but it might not be fundamentally linear. It might not flow in a simple repeating way. Instead, it might be a periodic, non-repeating, but ordered, and that order might emerge from simple quantum rules at the Planck scale. Imagine time as a geometric pattern, like a Penrose tiling extended into the fourth dimension. Each tile represents a quantum event, a collapse, a moment when reality becomes definite, and the way those tiles fit together determines the causal structure of the universe. The past tiles are already placed. They're fixed. But the future tiles are still being added, one collapse at a time, following quantum rules we don't yet fully understand. This is not time as a river. It's time as a crystallizing structure. And the flow you experience, that sensation of moving from past to future, is you as a physical system interacting with successive layers of the structure. You're reading the pattern. You're experiencing it sequentially because that's how consciousness works. But the pattern itself doesn't flow. It simply is. And here's the truly strange part. Because the structure is a periodic, because it never exactly repeats. Every moment is unique. Every configuration of the universe is novel. You can never step in the same river twice, as Heraclitus said. But it's not because the river is flowing. It's because the geometric structure of time is non-repeating. Now let's bring in conformal geometry. This is a type of geometry that preserves angles but not lengths. If you take a shape and apply a conformal transformation, triangles stay triangles, but their size can change. This turns out to be crucial for understanding time in cosmology. In my conformal cyclic cosmology, I showed that the infinite future of our universe, when it's expanded forever, cooled to near absolute zero, and contains only massless radiation, is conformally equivalent to the Big Bang. The geometry is the same. The structure is the same. The only difference is scale. And scale in a universe with no matter, no clocks, no rulers is meaningless. So the end of time and the beginning of time are the same, not in the sense of a simple loop, but in the sense of a geometric equivalence. The universe doesn't repeat. Each aeon is different, but the conformal structure allows one aeon to give birth to the next. Time doesn't end. It transforms. It reshapes itself. And the flow you perceive in your aeon is just one slice of an eternal geometric process. This is why I say time is a shape. It's not a line. It's not a circle. It's in a periodic, conformal quantum geometric structure that connects past and future in ways we're only beginning to understand. And the flow is your consciousness moving through the structure, experiencing it one collapse at a time, building memories, creating the illusion of motion. But there's no motion. There's only structure. And you are part of that structure. You are a pattern in the Penrose tiling of reality, a unique, unrepeatable configuration of matter and information. And when you remember yesterday, you're not reaching back into the past. You're accessing a part of the geometric structure that's already there, already determined, already crystallized. And when you anticipate tomorrow, you're not looking forward in time. You're imagining possible ways the structure might continue, but the structure itself doesn't flow. It simply is. Einstein was right. The distinction between past, present, and future is an illusion, but it's not a stubborn illusion. It's a necessary illusion because you are a time-bound creature. You experience reality sequentially. You cannot grasp the entire block universe at once. You cannot see the full Penrose tiling of spacetime. You can only experience it moment by moment, collapse by collapse, building your narrative of causation and change. And that's beautiful. That's what makes you conscious. That's what allows you to plan, to remember, to hope. You are a localized pattern in the geometric structure of time. And that localization gives you perspective. It gives you a sense of self, a sense of agency, a sense of becoming, even though at the deepest level, everything simply is. So when people ask me, does time flow? I say no. Time is a dimension of a geometric structure, and dimensions don't flow. They simply are. But when they ask, then why does it feel like time flows? I say because you are not outside time looking at it. You are inside time, made of it, experiencing it from within. And that experience, that sensation of flow, is not an error. It's not a mistake. It's the way a time-embedded pattern perceives the structure it's part of. This has profound implications for physics. If time is geometric, if it's emergent from quantum processes, then we need a theory that unifies quantum mechanics and general relativity at the level of geometry. We need quantum gravity. And I believe Twistor theory is a path toward that because it starts from the right place, not from space-time as fundamental, but from the geometry of light, from the causal structure itself. And it has profound implications for consciousness. If time is a crystallizing structure, if each moment is a quantum collapse that makes reality definite, then consciousness might be the process of experiencing those collapses, not causing them. I don't believe consciousness causes collapse, but experiencing them, witnessing the universe as it becomes real, moment by moment. This is why I've argued that consciousness is non-computable. Because if consciousness is tied to quantum collapse, and collapse is a gravitational phenomenon that lies outside the domain of classical computation, then consciousness involves physics we don't yet understand. It's not algorithmic. It's geometric. It's woven into the structure of time itself. And this is why nothing is truly lost. Because if time is a geometric structure, if all moments exist equally in the four-dimensional block, then the past doesn't disappear. It remains not as a memory, not as a recording, but as part of the eternal structure of reality. Every thought you've ever had, every choice you've ever made, every moment of joy or sorrow, it's all there crystallized in the geometry of space-time. You cannot visit it again. You cannot change it, but it exists eternally as part of the shape of time. And the future is not yet crystallized. The tiles are still being placed. The collapses are still happening. And you, as a conscious being, are participating in that process. You are helping to shape the structure, not because you have magical powers, but because you are part of the universe. Your choices, your actions, your quantum states, they all contribute to the next layer of the Penrose tiling. You are the universe becoming aware of itself. And that awareness, that experience of flow, is time revealing its structure to itself. So the next time you look at a clock, the next time you feel the passage of time, remember the clock is not measuring flow. It's marking intervals in a geometric structure, and you are not moving through time. You are a pattern in time, a beautiful, unique, unrepeating pattern in the eternal geometry of reality. Time doesn't flow, but you do. You flow through time like a wave through water, experiencing each moment as it crystallizes beneath you. And that experience, that consciousness, is the universe's way of knowing itself, of exploring its own structure, of asking what is time. And the answer is time is you. Time is me. Time is every moment of awareness, every quantum collapse, every tile in the imperial pattern of existence. Time is not a thing. It's a shape. And we are that shape, experiencing itself from within. Nothing is lost. Nothing is forgotten. Everything that ever was still is. And everything that will be is already implicit in the geometric structure of reality. We are simply discovering it one moment at a time as the universe unfolds its eternal, unchanging crystalline beauty.